Gentlemen, good afternoon, good morning, whatever time of day it is for you. Do appreciate everybody coming. We have an agenda to follow. I would like to have one conversation only, and that's me for at least an hour and a half. Yes, I make this presentation, I've made it a couple of times. It usually takes about an hour and a half. I'm going to try to make it a little shorter, so that we have more than a half hour to answer questions. So while I'm talking, if you have any questions, write them down and you'll get an opportunity to ask those questions. I'm going to try to be as informative and as positive as we could be. Good morning, Jerry. We'll start off by, Donald was sitting over here, but we'll grab another chair. All right, we'll find another seat for Donald. Yeah, sit. Okay, a little bit of my background. I'm 24 years in Century Village, 18 years as a board member, president, and almost 8 years in UCO, and now the lovely people of Century Village elected me to be your president. I'm trying to make changes to the positive side. Unfortunately, because of COVID and certain things, the last 5 years have been very hectic inside Century Village. We're trying to change that. Please bear with us. You're not going to like every change that we go back to, but it is, we hope, to the benefit of every unit owner, every resident of Century Village. At the dais, you have Kelly Jensen, our recording secretary, Ruth Reese, the editor of our paper, Patricia Caputo as the vice president, Jerry Satowski as your vice president, and at the end, our new treasurer, Joanne Robinson. And Donald Foster, our property managers in the corner.
Where he belongs.
Okay. Just remember, this is being recorded, so please try to keep to having no conversations back there, because the microphone picks up everything between what's on the camera, and there is a live mic sitting over here in the middle of the floor. We all have an agenda in front of you. I'm going to try to follow this agenda as close as I can and give you as much information that I can possibly give you. Am I going to give you everything? No. Why not? Because the rules change day by day. Just when you think you know it all, you don't know it all. The new legislation that was just passed changes a lot of things. Some of them good for the associations, some of them not so good for the associations. So if you see the mission statement of UCO, what are we here for? We're here to oversee major contracts. What gives us the right to oversee those major contracts? It's called the bilateral agreement. And I know that every board member, every unit owner has read that bilateral agreement inside and out, and they know what that does, right? How many people have read it? Okay, 4, very nice. 5, okay. What's in it? It's very simple. How many people are unit owners? Raise your hand. Beautiful. When you bought your apartment, you signed, your realtor shoved a piece of paper in front of you and said that you have read and have been brought up to knowledge of every rules, regulations, bylaws, and articles of incorporation. You were duped, okay? Because none of us read it. We didn't know what we were signing. The realtor said, here, just sign it. You'll be fine. Some of us, when I purchased here, I was very lucky that I had a very, very good president at the time. She took the time to sit down with me, go over the rules, regulations, bylaws, and 4 years later, she said, you're a smart guy. Come on to the board. And I started as the low member on the board. I know some of us, that does not happen. You become a unit owner, and 6 months later, you're the president, okay? It's not the best learning process when you get thrown into the fire, but it's like somebody throws you in the water, you learn how to swim or you sink. So, what do we oversee? Security, transportation, roads, cable, and insurance. We do a lot more than that, but that's what's bound into the bilateral agreement. That's what gives UCO the authority to oversee those major contracts. We are aware of those contracts. You have some issues whichever one it is, come to the UCO office. Your vice presidents are there to help you. If you have any questions, I know some of you, I see them in the office all the time. Please come in, don't be afraid. What does UCO do? A lot of people say UCO does nothing. We eat, we have coffee, and we do nothing. Well, we do. We oversee investigations, barcodes, gate passes. We notarize paperwork for you. And we have a website that was just brought up recently. David's blog was hacked. We had to shut it down, and a new website. That website will have more and more information on it as we go along. This administration is new. We're trying to get all the kinks out. We have some issues that we need to address, and we're addressing them. And every day we come up with a new way of figuring things out. There's been some issues with investigations and sale and rental forms. Part of them, those of you that have read the bilateral agreement, it's in there that UCO will do your buildings investigations. We have not pushed that. Some associations are doing their own investigation. We personally don't think that that's a wise thing. Some people are using maintenance companies like Seacrest or other people to do it. Can you do it? Technically, no, but we're not putting you under the fire for not doing it. The issue becomes that now you have a problem with an individual, and then you come to UCO, and you say, well, UCO approved this person, and then we find out that we never did your investigation. It was done by somebody else, or no investigation at all. Okay? When COVID hit, before COVID hit, you had to come to the office to get a certificate of occupancy typed up. Because of COVID, because of people being sick, because people not being here, WPRF relaxed the need of 2 signatures on that certificate, whether it was a title transfer or a rental occupancy, which has, after 5 years, has created some major issues, okay? So what we did, when Eva approached me about 2 months ago and said, listen, I want to go back to the 2 signatures, we went back to the 2 signatures. So a lot of associations have no board members. Everybody's a snowbird. Everybody's gone. Okay? You're going to have to make some changes. And some, not because I'm telling you, because 718 is going to make it impossible for you to do business. For those of you that only have 1 board member here, either put somebody on the board that's here with you, or you're going to have to use your management company to be the second signer on that form. WPRF will no longer hold your questions until after. Your management company will have to sign on that behalf as the second signer. That's the only way. The other caveat is that we were giving out rental forms and extension forms and COAs, and they were being abused by several associations, several individuals. So we've stopped giving out rental extension forms, occupancy forms, blank ones. Plus, the certificate of occupancy for a transfer, we're no longer giving those out either, because people were doing their own investigation, so-called, and giving those certificates, handwriting them out. I saw a couple with the buyer and the seller was the same person. Okay, and they're coming to UCO and they're saying, well, I need this notarized. I'm not supposed to be reading it, but I'm reading that the buyer and the seller are the same. Now, if I notarize it and they go to closing, can they close? No, they can't close. So what we've done, we've brought the fact, let's keep it to one conversation, please. We have asked that you come to UCO, whether it's a rental extension, you bring us the new lease, which is the responsibility of the association, to get that new lease at least 30 days prior to the lapse of that lease. Buildings are not doing that. They come to the office, one of the board members, they have a new lease. Oh, my tenant is expiring today. I need a form, I need it right away. You're supposed to be asking that unit owner and the tenant to supply you with that at least 30 days prior. so that you get a chance to review it and you get a chance to make sure that everything is done correctly. Originally, up until 2 weeks ago, you could only come to UCO to get that form filled out, a rental extension or an occupancy form. I spoke to Eva, and Eva has agreed that you can, since we're only open 3 hours a day, she's open 7 hours a day. The ID office, if you go there with the rental extension, you bring the lease, and they will type one up for you. It is still the responsibility of the association to have 2 signatures and put their seal on it so that the person can get the ID. I had someone in the office yesterday that said, "This is too much work for me. You know, I shouldn't be doing this." Well, you're the president of the building, you're supposed to be reviewing the lease, and you're supposed to be doing the business of the association. And if you're not, put somebody else in there. We can't tell the associations what to do, but we're trying to help you. This is why you're here, this is why I'm here, to let you know what your duties are. And UCO has a lot of responsibility, but the associations also have a lot of responsibility, and there's more and more responsibility that you're going to have to do. Did you have a question on certificates?
Yes, I understand you require 2 signatures.
Yes.
Does that mean 2 people must come to the office, or can one person come to the office with the 2 signatures?
Okay. Very, very simple question. You answer it yourself. It's up to the association to have 2 signatures, not to come to the UCO office.
That's the clarification.
That's the clarification. Now, if you need a notary because it's a change of title, you need 2 people to come to wherever you're going to get it notarized.
Okay.
But if it's just a rental extension, you guys sign it, you guys put the seal, you don't have to come back to the office. But we do require an officer of the association to come in and get that form typed up. Okay? Why do you want to use UCO? Most people are not aware that if you use UCO Investigations, and first you have the right that if you have a question to ask for a legal opinion. Now most people say, well, we're getting an opinion, but it's not acceptable because the lawyer's name is not on there, okay? Think about it. The association brings the paperwork to UCO. UCO processes that paperwork for the association. That's why you make a check out to UCO. Otherwise, you'd make the check out to you. So our responsibility is to you, the association. The attorney that we use works for UCO. So UCO is we're going to pass on whatever paperwork, just what the attorney told us. He doesn't work for the associations. He works for UCO. If you're not happy with that, you can use your own attorney. The advantage to that is if you go to Seacrest or if you go to Don't Do It At All and you get sued, your deductible is covered by UCO. And I can personally tell you that my building was sued and the $5,000 deductible was covered because we used the system. We used the UCO attorney and our building attorney, and they both said we had the right to challenge this person coming into the building. He sued us, but our deductible was covered. So if for nothing else, it's worth $5,000. To be a lot of people, especially today, that everybody wants to sue everybody. Is it going to stop lawsuits? No. Okay. You have 4 quadrant BPs. I'm amazed, sitting in the UCO office for the last 7 years, that most people do not know that the village is divided into 4 quadrants. Every quadrant has a vice president. If you don't know who your vice president is, come to the office. We'll have a sheet made out. They'll be available so you know who your quadrant VP is. If not, you're welcome to call, and we will put you into whoever your quadrant VP is. We have 3 volunteers that work the front desk, and they're there basically to shuffle phone numbers. Try not to beat them up. Don't yell at them. Don't scream at them. This seems to be more and more prevalent. It's more and more prevalent that people come in, and you people don't understand. They're only there to answer the phones. Occasionally, you'll have a vice president, or you'll have some Ruth or somebody else that's there that's more knowledgeable. Try not to take up their time. If you have a question, I need to talk to my quadrant VP. No question is too simple, no question is too hard, unless it's a legal question. If it's a legal question, what you're going to get from Yuko is you need to talk to your attorney. A lot of people don't want to hear that. Attorneys cost too much money. Unfortunately, there's nobody in the office that has a legal degree. Closest thing we have is Patricia that spent 38 years working for an attorney, okay, attorney's office, but she's not a lawyer, okay? Do we have experience? Jerry has experience. All of us that have been presidents or sat on the board have some kind of experience, but we can't give you legal experience. So you're gonna have to use your attorney and get used to that. Okay. Why do you want to work? A lot of people are trying to be self-managed. We have some groups that feel that they can manage their own buildings. I'm sure that some of them can do a great job. I'm sure that some of them might be doing a good job. But are they following all the rules and everything that you're supposed to do? The last thing on that first sheet is annual meeting, proper paperwork sent to all unit owners, annual budgets, annual elections. You should have an annual election every year. If you don't have a complete board, Patricia and I were invited recently to an association that their board is of 7, they only had 5 people. Seacrest went, gave them all the paperwork. Evidently, they did not explain it correctly. They had their meeting, you still have to sign in, they were given the package, but nobody explained it or the person didn't understand. Okay? You should have an annual meeting. At that annual meeting, you should have your property manager there, even though you don't have an election, but you may have questions. Okay? A lot of people feel that they have all the answers. You may not have all the answers. The first mistake, we had an annual meeting and I gave Seacrest my list of officers. They're taking care of everything. No, they take care of Sunbiz. That's for your corporation, for your building. There's a second form that needs to be filled out for who your delegates are. You would be surprised how many associations photocopy Seacrest list and bring it to Yuko and say, these are my delegates, okay? That doesn't fly. We have a special form. That form tells us who your CERT contact is, who your delegates are, who your alternate delegates are. And you would be surprised that how many associations come in that have no alternate delegates or only have one person on the board. Okay? Everybody knows 718. Is that allowed to have one person on the board? Oh, okay. Well, but there are associations that are running like that. We came across recently an association that had not filed an annual to Yuko for almost 5 years. Okay? Now you say, wow, but these are the things that we put up in the office, and then somebody comes in and we have an issue, whether it's a legal issue or a problem with a building, and we go down that list and, that president's dead, the vice president moved out, this guy sold, none of the officers that we have listed. And that's our lifeline. That's how we know who to contact in the building. And guess whose responsibility it is to do that? The board. And when we finally find out who's on the board, they tell us, we haven't changed in 5 years. We just called you and half the board is not there. So how could you have the same people on the board, not have meetings and not file paperwork? Yes?
That's it. There's no meetings that are being held telling the owners that we're going to have, the building is being cleaned outside by Powell.
Whose responsibility is it to do that? Whose responsibility?
Seacrest.
Well, it's up to the officers of the building to make sure that Seacrest sends those letters out.
They're not doing it.
Well, I would suggest you sit down with your property manager and talk to them.
They're trying to get
A lot Well, that's another scenario. If your property manager is not doing its job, it's your job to contact whoever your CAM is, contact Shauna, and if you have a problem, Diane Evans is usually their boss, contact her. Have a special meeting, bring them in. They have someone that they are responsible to, and that person is Diane Evans, okay? If you're calling for a meeting and you can't get somebody there, or you want somebody done, okay? The first contact person should be to your property manager, okay? Email them, call them, do whatever you gotta do, say you gotta have a meeting. If worse comes to worse, you're welcome. We use the UCO office conference room after hours to meet with your property manager. You can contact Carolyn or Donald, and we will make that room available for you. Excuse me. And you can come in and sit down and go over whatever your issues are. We can't fix them. You gotta fix them yourself. Okay? If you have the delegates form, if you have a violation, you have an individual. Do we have any treasurers in the room? Okay, how many presidents do I have? You renew the financials every month, right, when you get them? Do you have anybody on your list that is more than 30 days in arrears, or 60 days, or 90 days? Why? Why do you have somebody that's more than 90 days in arrears? Okay. Okay. So what are you doing about it?
We have our attorney working on it.
Okay. Are you aware of the asset recovery program? Okay. The asset recovery program was put in place about 7, 8 years ago. And it's a wonderful tool to use. But the first thing that you do is you can come to UCO, talk to one of the vice presidents. If they will do a search, if the individual apartment or the individual owner, and it's got to be at least 90 days, owes WPRF money and owes the association money, that's what's important. They got to owe both entities money. We will get in touch with Monica Wells. Monica Wells will get in touch with you. She will do the homework. If WPRF is owed money, they will put a contract together. One of the officers will sign that contract, and WPRF will proceed with the foreclosure procedure. Okay? The advantage, personal experience. The last one that I used an attorney took 7.5 years. The last one that I did with WPRF took 14 months. Now, why do I say 90 days? Because most foreclosures take over a year. You might be able to recover 1 year of assets that's owed. Once you go into 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, the chances of you getting that are slim to none. I'm not sure that if the law says the most you can get is 12, but I don't know of anybody that's been owed 5 years that got all their money. Not aware of anybody that's done that. And the nice thing about it is if you use an attorney, they use that $1,200 or $1,500 fee to start the foreclosure procedure. And I guarantee you that if you did it, did he tell you that every 12 months you have to renew that? You got to give him another check. You need to stay on top of it. And this is another thing. If you use WPRF, their attorney stays on top of it. If you don't do it and you're not reminded by your attorney, that's going to lapse and you're going to have to start all over again. You can't let those 12 months go by the wayside. So, and again, it's a lot of work that the association boards have to do. That's why I recommend working together. You know, I know people go on vacation, people are sick. I personally do not recommend that one person know everything. Whatever you know should be spread amongst your board, okay? At the UCO office, whatever we have an issue that comes up, once it gets resolved, we try to let all 4 vice presidents know how it was resolved, how we took care of it, so we can give you an educated answer if you come up with that. Share your knowledge. Don't be afraid. Like I said, I'm here after 18 years. I'm sharing what I've learned over the last 18 years. Have I stopped learning? No. Okay? The learning process never ends. If you have a letter of violation, if you have an individual, this is very important. You have somebody that's 2 months that's not making payments. You can ask your management company, call Seacrest up, say, listen, wait, I have apartment number 101 owes me 60 days. Please send them a letter. Okay? Follow up, and I know that I'm using Seacrest because Seacrest is usually 2 months in arrears with your paperwork. So if you're getting a statement that the person owes for 2 months, chances it's probably 3 or more. And it's up to you to stay on top of it. It's up to you to make sure that that paperwork gets followed. Put it in writing and put it via email so that you have a paperwork trail, because they are pretty busy too. Donald has a pretty good idea. Every CAM is how many buildings in Century Village?
309 associations.
Yeah, but how much does each CAM of Seacrest handle? How many buildings?
3 cams, it would be about 100 associations each.
Okay.
They
So
have
it's up to
three-
you to be vigilant. You have to help them do their job. Okay? Very important that you do that. Make sure you file those delegate forms. I know that over the years, we had some issues where people would come in and say, I'm the delegate, and we never had a form filled in. Pretty much the last year and a half, 2 years, we've been pretty good with that. But we still get somebody that comes in and says, oh, I was on the old list. Well, we're gonna go by whatever is in those books. So if you have any questions, if you have any doubts, come into the office, ask one of the vice presidents, or ask to Carolyn to see what we have in our books. Who is your delegate, who your alternate delegates are, and if you're gonna go on vacation or you're not gonna be here, make sure that you update that list. Anybody that's on the board can be an alternate delegate, okay? So don't be afraid to put those people on there. If somebody's going to be there, at least your building will be covered. Yes? Yes?
How important is that company Sunbiz
Sun-
Corporation?
Sunbiz is very important because that's how you register annually your corporation. Has to be filed every 12 months in order to perpetuate your corporation.
Who does that?
That's done by your management company. That's why some people that are self-managed don't do that. And it used to be a $400 fine. Now I understand it's much higher. I don't know what the exact number is. Okay, yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Consto. Just to follow up on that, we have had a problem with our association. We submit to Seacrest our proper list of officers. They charge us for submitting to Sunbiz, and it's been wrong for over a year. So my question to you is, when you're calling the presidents, are you going from the list we give you, or?
Yes.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Okay, yes. We go by the list that is in our books.
Okay.
Yes. Who else?
Counselor, could I just-
Sure, go ahead, Chairman.
Can you hear me? Okay. Just as a new wrinkle into this whole issue, the federal government just passed something called the Transparency Act. That is going to affect every single association in the village. I'll explain to you in a minute what it's all about, and it is not Sunbiz. This is something that has to be filed with the federal government. And basically what the federal government wants is a list of the members of your association, meaning your board. Names of the board, name of your association, photo ID of your association, of your board members. Every time a board member changes, you have to submit a new form. Now, I've spoken to my attorney for my building. This act is under appeal right now. One state found it unconstitutional, but Florida has not yet found it, it hasn't happened in Florida. So our attorney strongly recommends that we go online. It's a fairly simple form to fill out. The main thing is going to be to get the photo IDs from the board members. If you don't do it by the end of this year and it stays in place, it's a $500 a day fine.
What's the email?
Yeah, how do we access the form?
Donald, do you want to pick up from that?
Morning, everyone. You saw me buried in my phone just now. That was me communicating with Yuko's attorney about this. This act is called the Corporate Transparency Act. It is a federal law. The deadline for registering all condominiums, all corporations actually, is the 1st of next year, 1st of 2025. This one kind of caught me flat-footed because I thought it was going to be bounced out, that condominiums would be exempt. As of this minute, no. Only in one state in the United States, the state of Alabama. Yuko's attorney has just advised us to advise you to take this seriously. There's an old saying, don't make a federal case out of this, because anything to do that's federal carries a penalty for non-compliance. It's like not filing your tax returns. Most of you have Mark Friedman, Becker Law, as your attorney. They have a service for this. I've checked with both of the property management firms that cover Century Village, or at least most of it. They are not going to do this for you. Not for money, not for free. This morning, I registered my own building, just to see how it works. It's a little bit more complicated than the Sunbiz filing. Like Jerry said, the most complicated is scanning in pictures of the IDs of all your board members. And you're going to need to do that every time your board changes, otherwise you're in non-compliance. I had trouble in my own building getting one of my board members to give me a copy of his driver's license. He didn't want to. He'd never heard of this law, and he was naturally reticent to give it up. I totally understand that. We're going to have more information out for you. The firm that our attorney works for does have a service. So it's a for-fee service. We can put that out there. Becker's definitely doing it. I think this is not one that you want to DIY. You probably want to get some help with this. And of course, we're here to help if you need anything. Yes, Mr. Shackley.
This is just for boards.
Just for boards.
Just for boards.
Yeah, so this is for all corporations in America, and the purpose of the law is for corporate transparency and to stop things like money laundering. We're all non-for-profit corporations. The federal government has decided that the board members are the key decision makers of the corporation, the unit owners being the shareholders, and that's who they want.
If you want to know the website to go to, I'll tell you, it's www.fincen.gov/BOI.
I got B, I got it again.
I'll repeat it again. F is in Frank, I is in Ira, N is in Nancy, C is in Charles, E is in Edward, N is in Nancy, .gov/BOI. All lowercase, yeah. You can also ask Shauna, if Shauna is your property manager, she put it online, she'll email you the place to go
It was in
to.
her last newsletter that she sent out.
Yeah, that's where we got this from. And I spoke to Mark Friedman about it. And Mark Friedman basically told me, do it right now, protect your association. If you have your annual meeting before January 1, don't submit the form until you have that annual meeting. If you have the annual meeting after January 1, you're going to have to submit one form, and then after January 1, you're probably going to have to submit an updated form. But again, this non-submission occurs a $500 a day penalty. So I would check with your attorney, check with your property manager, go online, and see what you could do about getting this done. And if you don't mind, I'd like to add one more thing. And Fausto probably knows a little bit more about it, but I'm just going to mention to you that another thing that was passed is that any association that has more than 25 units must now have a website. And Fausto, maybe you wanted to pick up on that and tell them about,
Getting there.
okay?
Getting there.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. So, as you can see, we are a team. UCO works as a unit. We work very well with each other. Again, I'm emphasizing with you as officers of your building, make sure you have an attorney. You're going to need an attorney. People, I mean, in the past, the thing is, well, I don't want to spend $250. When it involves the federal government or fining, the fines are going to be a lot more than what it's going to cost you to get a legal opinion. Okay. Again, we covered most of this stuff. The legal is also very important because you need to update your documents. Can we have one conversation, please? Thank you. Legal advice. You need to update your governing documents, okay? I know that everybody here knows exactly the proper procedure of which governing documents oversees the other. But for those of you that are not sure, I will let you know. The Declaration of Condominium is number 1. Articles of Incorporations is 2. Bylaws is 3. Rules and regulations and whatever policies you have in your building. Those are the 4 steps. Now, why do I mention that to you? Because a lot of people update their bylaws. No renting. Nobody wants renters. And they change their bylaws and whatever, and then somebody wants to rent, and they go and they get sued. And their articles of incorporation and their declaration of condominium said that you're allowed to rent. Well, can you rent? No. Because the top tier is the declaration of condominium and the articles of incorporation. So if your articles and incorporations coincide with your bylaws, you're great. If they're in conflict, they're going to go by the top tier, okay? It's up to you to follow these and make sure that it's done. When I moved into my building, it was very simple. I was told that the previous presidents had made 17 amendments, and there was all these things there. Guess what? She filed them with the clerk, but never amended the declaration, never amended her. So every bylaw change that she put in there over the 10 years that she was president didn't amount for anything. Okay? You gotta make sure that they're all up. Now, I know that we have, everybody in here is an attorney and everybody knows what you're doing, but you really need an attorney. You need an attorney to read your bylaws, your declaration, and make sure that somewhere along the line, everything coincides. Okay? And you're going to need it more and more. Yes?
Once you get that really done legally, do you have to mail it out to all of the owners?
Yeah, I'm getting to that. And the reason why I'm stressing it is because of some of the new regulations that are coming up. Yes, very interesting. All right. So we're going to go back to the very last page of what you have in you. Is I've been telling you what our responsibility of UCO is and how we help the associations. The last part, the last 5 or 6 inches is what are you responsible as association presidents, vice presidents, officers? You need to have a board of directors. One person does not constitute a board of directors. We get lots of people that tell me, oh yeah, I'm the president, I have nobody else on the board. You're not a board. You're in violation of your corporation paperwork. Okay? I believe the minimum is 3. Yes?
Going back to what you were saying before, when they did the addendum to the bylaws, where there's no renters, the unit owner, are they grandfathered in after the amendments were done? A lot of people are saying that, well, I got grandfathered in prior to the changes.
The way that works is, what you're talking about, there's a regulation that was covered by Mark Friedman several years ago, where if you are a unit owner and your building decides to vote on becoming a non-rental, if you as a unit owner did not vote to change that bylaw, make that bylaw change, you're not subjected to that bylaw. But if you become a building that's non-rental and your declaration and your other paperwork doesn't match, you're still a rental building. They all have to be in line. Think of it as like a domino. The first domino, if it falls, they've got to be there. And a lot of new officers, a lot of new people come in and they don't know. And this is what we're here for. We're here to educate you to the best of our knowledge. Again, we do not have all the answers, but we're going to try to give you as much information, and do your homework. Yes?
So if the unit owner didn't vote on the new amendments regarding the rentals, that means that unit owner could still technically be rental?
Now,
Okay.
now, if the,
Okay.
sorry, Pastor, if the unit owner did not vote,
Okay.
that's a yes. That's,
In other words,
if you have to actually vote
Vote,
no
right.
to be exempt, and that exemption will only account for as long as that person owns the unit.
Okay.
After that,
They have to vote
the
no.
next person
Right.
applies.
That unit owner must have voted no. There has to be a record. Again, record keeping, and we're going to get to that.
No vote doesn't count.
Okay.
Because of the no vote. And-
Right, you need, a lot of items need membership votes. Okay. You gotta have an annual election, but do you have enough people or not have enough people? It's gotta be posted, it's gotta be mailed out, it has to be on your bulletin board, and even if you do not have a quorum, you must have a sign-in sheet, and you must maintain that paperwork. And I'll explain to you very shortly. You've got to maintain your building. We have people that walk around and say, I don't, you know, this color is beautiful. It's been there for 25 years. I don't want to change it. You've got to upkeep your building. Everybody knows what happened. There's some of these things that are being changed because of what happened with the collapse of the building. You've got to maintain your building. If you have a loose railing, if you have something, go on record. Make sure that you've contacted your management company. Bring in a contractor. Go on record. You may not have enough money to fix everything, but at least you're doing something about it. Make sure you have minutes, make sure that you have paperwork showing that as a board member, you've done your due diligence. Because if somebody comes down the railing and that railing falls over and that person falls over and says, but I told my board, I told the board that this thing was loose, and there's nothing in the minutes and nothing was done, guess who's responsible? The board, okay? And you don't want to be put in that position. You need to dot your i's, cross your t's, and have as much documentation to cover you. Work with your management company. I know that we hear sometimes you cannot get a hold of your management company. They're not available, they're this or that. Stay on top of them. Like I said, if you have a problem and you cannot reach out to Donald, reach out to Diana Evans. I'm sure she's gonna hate me for it, but that's okay. I go back to Diana Evans when she was my property manager when I first moved into Century Village. She was my CAM, okay?
She's good.
So they're there to work with you. You're paying them to work with you and assist you. A lot of people say, well, they're not doing their job. Well, you're wasting your money. Get up, keep knocking on the door. And if you, I said, reach out to Donald or any one of the vice presidents and we'll help you get in touch with your management company. That much we can do. We can't force them to do anything, but we can bring them to the table so that you can work with them. You should have a copy, phone numbers, contact number of every unit owner in your building, okay? If you don't have it and you're not aware of it, contact your property manager and they will give you a list. I live in Greenbrier, we ask once a year, November, December. We want an up-to-date list of, because people change addresses or whatever. Give us a copy of who lives in my building. We know most of them, but sometimes they move. Okay, yes?
I even do it with the cars. I want the
That's
license.
good, that's fine. Whatever, the more paperwork, the more information you have, the better off that you are. Yes?
So who's ultimately responsible for that correct address contact for that owner? Because I've gone back and forth with Seacrest and everybody else on that for a long time. Seacrest says it's our responsibility, the association. We're supposed to hunt down all these 20 owners. And if they don't tell us they become an LLC, if they don't tell us they've got a post office number, address now or something else, we don't know. The only ones who really know are the ones who are receiving whatever kind of money for maintenance from any owner.
Technically, it's your responsibility as a board member to know who the unit owners are. Now, if there's a change, and I have a personal issue with people where they buy a unit and then 6 months later they quick deed it or they turn it into an LLC. We can't stop that, okay? Is it correct? I don't think so. You know, we're not sure, but I know Donald has some input on that.
Richard, I'm a president of a 24-unit condominium here in Century Village. At the first day of every quarter, my phone gives me a little jingle and reminds me. 24 units, I go to Property Appraiser's website and I check to see the ownership, whether it's been conveyed, whether it's been changed to an LLC. The other thing I look at is I go to Clerk of Court and I do a quick search to see if there's any mortgages, home improvement loans, things of that nature. It's a little bit of a housekeeping chore that I don't relish, but it takes about an hour a quarter.
Because whenever there's any kind of a mailing or whatever else, Seacrest sends all this stuff to the unit
Correct.
address.
Yeah.
And the people live someplace else, most of them aren't even there.
I mean,
So
for the
they're
most
not
part,
getting the information.
and you know, I manage two associations outside of Century Village. I try my best to get the right mailing address.
Yeah, I mean, I just want
Some of
to-
them are in Canada, one's in England. If I can't get anything, I'll use Papa, wherever the tax bill is going. But other than that, I try to get, and they do the same, and so should you.
That's the property.
Donnie,
Yeah,
what were you said, property ownership, what?
the Property Appraiser's website, PAPA, put that in your phone, Papa Palm Beach. It's a very good tool, like I said, this is about an hour task once a quarter for the president, or in my case, the secretary.
I do
Who's
want
my
to,
wife?
I do want to say one thing. We know, we're 56 units, and we know the people that are going to be there. So what I do, when I was on the board, and I was on the board for 10 years, but I'm taking a little break, I would tell Seacrest, I would call them and give them a list of the people who went home. So that when it was time for the election, like they wouldn't be back in time for the election, all those papers went to the proper address. So you could assist that way. If you know that people are going back home, just tell whoever your property managers, email it to them. You know, this way you have a record that they're not going to be there during the months of, you know, whatever the election, because a lot of them do it by proxy. So that's the easiest way. Otherwise, you'll be banging your head against the wall.
Yeah, because Seacrest has been telling me all the time that we are personally responsible for it. I have the correct addresses and everything.
But we are, because they have all the addresses. When a person moves in, Seacrest has that information of what the address is
Yeah.
at that time. So
They
it's,
should also have access at Seacrest, that's where the maintenance are going. That's Seacrest.
I agree with you, but it's still your responsibility to follow through. Like sometimes you have somebody that I'll give you a perfect example where we had somebody that was living in the building, but now because she's sick, she's living with the daughter in New Jersey or Connecticut someplace, okay? They're sending the paperwork to the address here in West Palm Beach, but we know that that individual is not in your building. They're not gonna know that because they may be on a direct withdrawal. So it's up to the board to know where that person is. So you have to be involved. There's no two ways about it, okay?
I would also suggest that you should have an ICE form, which is in case of emergency, that I have for everybody in my building, and unfortunately, I had to enter an apartment where somebody was deceased, and I called the immediate relative immediately, and I had, like I said, if it's feasible for you, if you could do it, make up a form, and you could do of who to call in case of an emergency, 1 or 2 people as a backup. Just a good idea to have.
Not everybody fills it out.
We have that.
Well, you can, listen, we try to go through it once a year, we try to update our building, and it's hard enough with 26 units, imagine that with 56.
I know.
Okay, but again, if you've done your due diligence, what Patricia did this year, person will not give information. We have a record, we went there 1, 2, 3 times, we knocked on the door, person doesn't want to be bothered, at least we tried. Okay?
Yep.
So, all right.
Perfect.
Yeah, she's not on the board, but she works as hard as any board member. Okay. Make sure that all the proper paperwork for a sale or a rental is followed through. I know that there seems to be a little small issue now where properties are being sold without the without the board knowing about it. And all of a sudden, somebody shows up and says, I'm the new unit owner. Okay? That's all fine, well and good. Here's an application, fill it out, okay? You can't do anything, you can't live in the building, you can't make any modifications, you can't do anything until the proper paperwork is filled out. Do not be afraid to tell that new unit owner, whether they bought it at an auction or they bought it. When I lived in Canterbury, my next door neighbor bought a unit in a diner in Pennsylvania. She found a disgruntled individual that was selling his property and she bought it, sight unseen. They did all the paperwork outside, and when all of a sudden she showed up, she said, I'm the new unit owner of number 50. Okay. Can she live there? No. Can she be an owner? Yes. But if she wants to live there, she wants to be there, she's got to fill in the paperwork. Okay?
So residency.
Right. The residency is determined by the board. One of the questions that we have an individual, he's 21 years old, he wants to buy an apartment and put his grandparents in there. Can he buy it?
Yes.
We don't want him to be an owner. You can't stop him. He could be 20, he could be 15 years old, he could be an owner. Can he live there? That's up to the association. Okay? Technically, no, because it's a senior community, right? But it's up to the board. And I know that this is a very common thing. Yes, sir?
I thought the board has to approve the sale of a unit.
No,
No?
no. And I'll give you a perfect example. You buy a unit at auction. You own the unit, did we approve the sale? No. It doesn't get approved until the person comes to you and you fill in the paperwork, right?
Yeah. Here at Century Village, you, the board, control residency, right? The estoppel rights are with WPRF. That's a little unique situation, right? As far as the outside world, most units, most conveyances are financed. In which case, the title company and the lender is going to want to see a certificate of approval from the board. But that's often not the case here because no lender is involved.
Now, can I ask one?
Sure, go ahead.
I have a situation in the building where the guy didn't file for any of the permits and so forth, so we've held up the sale of the
Good.
condo.
Perfect.
We've informed him with a letter that before the residency can be sold and so forth, it has to be approved by code. Are we legal?
Did you talk to your attorney?
You said the magic word, legal.
Legal, you mentioned the word legal attorney. That's the person that should have sent the letter from your attorney.
Okay, not the board.
So if you didn't do that, well, the board is a good step, but now have your attorney, give him all the information, and let your attorney be in charge of that person. Okay? Don't be afraid to use your attorneys. Okay. All right. Should every board member be certified? Now, this has been a question throughout the years. Every board member should have a certificate that they attended a class. It used to be available online, you took it was great. You could either, turn your computer on and walk away. Years ago, you could sign a paper, say, I've read and I understand the Declaration, the bylaws, I know it all, and that was satisfactory. Several years ago, they decided they were going to try to do away with that. They're finally doing away with that. I think 2023 was the last year that you could actually sign that paper. They're also doing away with the online certification. Now, why is that important? Because it used to be if you took the certification course, whether it was DBPR or one of the condo expos, it was good for 5 years, okay? It is good for 5 years. But the new caveat is that the new law says you now need an update every year. Okay? It's a new thing. So the basic certification class, when I took it the first time, was 1 hour and 45 minutes. The last one that we took was closer to 3. And I think that 3 is going to be longer and longer, okay? Yes, sir?
Are you saying that you can't do it online anymore?
I believe 24 is the last year that you could do it, but you're still subject to an in-class 2-hour next year, in person.
It was 4 hours in the new law.
As far as I know, it's 2-hour update. That's what we were told.
Update.
It hasn't changed yet. There was a question, yes, sir.
Now, what if you're certified this year? What is that?
Next year, you need to go to a 2-hour class.
Oh, so it's only good for 1 year?
No, as long as you remain on the board. I'll read you as long as you remain on the board, it's good for 5 years, okay? But they're going to require, starting with 2025, a 2-hour update course. Yes, you have a question back there.
You already answered by saying
Okay, good. Yes, Mary?
Yes, you keep saying they require, who are they?
718, Florida statute.
Thank you.
That's when we require they, we're talking about 718, which is what we're governed by. Yes. Yes, from the time that you were put on the board, you have 90 days in which to comply with that. Okay? Now, I've had questions asked, well, what happens if you don't do it within 90 days? Technically, you're not on the board. Yes, sir.
You know, a lot of this stuff, they put into law, just like they're talking about the litigation laws that we were here the other day, going over and so forth. Who's monitoring it?
They are.
That's a good question. But don't worry, because this is only the beginning. You know that long hair that you have? By the time you walk out of here, you're going to say, no, I got no hair. Okay? Because the changes are happening daily. And I literally, when I tell you daily, yes.
Okay, so at 90 days, you find out nobody's been certified.
Yes.
What do you do?
You have no board. Guess what? Call the management company. I need to have another election. Okay? And you'll understand why very shortly. Okay. Board certification, yeah, we got time. Board certification is going to be very, very important. All right. Keep that in the back of your mind. You should have delegates coming to the delegate assembly. I know that during the summer months, we've been actually having a really good attendance, which makes me proud. That means that people want to come and they want to learn and they want to see what's going on. Okay? But come to the delegate assembly. You're the voting body. As delegates, you're the guys that, we make proposals and we do this and we do that, but you're the final say. You're the people that vote us into office. You're the people that fill these positions, and you're the final hammer. Any major expenditures, anything that we do, is governed through the delegate assembly. Okay. Some people say, it doesn't matter. I don't have to go to the delegate assembly. They never talk about anything. Yes, sir.
Are board members automatically qualified to go to the delegate?
As long as they're on the DUCO form. Okay, so a lot of people come in and say, well, I'm the only person that ever goes. Any person that is on your board should be listed as an additional delegate. And if you have an individual that can come but is not an officer, you can list him as an additional delegate and he can represent your building, right?
Yeah, let's just differentiate between attendance and voting, because those are two different things.
Right.
Anybody that lives in Century Village, has a Century Village ID, is welcome to attend the meetings, whether you're an owner or not. If you want to vote, you need to be on the Yuko sheet and signed it, yeah. So that's, you know, you can put as many of your unit owners on as you like, they don't have to be on the board. The point there is that you're represented. If something comes up significant in the summertime and you're not around and you want to be represented, you want to vote.
Right.
So it's in your best interest to put as many people on as possible. You know, no crazy people, please.
Donald,
Sure.
what do you do, what recourse do I have as just a unit owner? I
Yeah.
am no longer on the board.
Okay. Recourse as to what?
Well, the new president refuses to put anybody on beside himself as an alternate.
That's the board's call. The board,
They don't-
I don't like it, but I don't have to like it.
So I've been disenfranchised.
Well, in a sense, yes, but your board represents you at Yuko. And I'd love to see them have representation. I know they don't attend the delegate assembly meetings, but yes, that's their call. That's the way they want it. That's the way it is. We just wish they wouldn't do it that way.
Okay. All right. One of the major issues that we hear at Yuko almost on a regular basis, the president, the secretary, the treasurer they're in Canada, they're in New Jersey, they're in Washington, and they took our corporate seal. Okay? We can't do any paperwork. That corporate seal should not be more than 40 miles away from this apartment, from your Century Village. It should never really leave Century Village, because that's, you know, or you can have two. Okay? And as Donald says, it's not the Holy Grail. You can go to any,
Amazon.
You can go to Amazon, you could order a new corporate seal, okay? But it's your responsibility as officers to make sure that that corporate seal is there so you can conduct business.
The corporate seal, you can have more than one. Sometimes the outgoing secretary or president gets mad and flings it in the lake, that happens. You just order another one. But understand that if the seal is used improperly, now you've committed fraud. So, again, we're all adults.
Okay.
What is the best, or one of the best companies to go and get a good seal from?
Amazon. Just go to Amazon and put in corporate seal. Yeah, the cheapest one is, I believe, $19.95, and they have the one, I've come across people here in Century Village that can't rip anymore because they got arthritis. There's one that punches.
Okay. So corporate seal, very important, should be, and if you're in charge of the corporate seal and you're going on vacation, you're going to be gone for a week, or 2 weeks, or 3 weeks, leave it to somebody in the building that can continue to do business for you. These are common sense things, but for some reason, people feel, well, I'm the president, I'm going back to Canada, it's got to stay with me. No, it's not. Unit owners, new owner comes in. We just had a newcomers meeting, was pretty well attended. It's up to you as officers of the building to meet with the new owner, the renter, whoever it is, and inform them of what your rules, what your regulations, what your bylaws are, especially renters. You know, if you have a guest that stays for more than 30 days, whether it's your son, your daughter, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, they can't stay here unless they're investigated, okay? They don't know. If you don't tell them, you don't know. And it doesn't matter whether it's a renter or a unit owner. Also inform them of the Yuko reporter. I think Ruthie does a wonderful job in telling everybody what goes on. Plus, Joanne has done a wonderful job over the last 2 years with the channels, 590, 591, and 592. Everything that goes on at Yuko, almost everything that goes on in Century Village and WPRF is on those channels. Including this meeting, yes. This meeting will be on there. We're recording it. Every one of your concerns that you're talking, we're recording it and we will put it up there. I'm very proud that people are doing a good job. Don't be afraid to tell the unit owners. If you have a question, what goes on in Century Village, watch those channels. They're free. Tell them about our community website that we put up there, the new website. Make sure they go on there. If you need a newcomer's package, they have them available at the ID office. If the ID office ran out of them, you can come to the UCO office. We do have certain individuals that sit on boards and said, I have a new person that just purchased in my building, can I have a package? And we'll give it to you. We're updating the packages now because the old packages had me as vice president and David as president. Now I'm the president and Jerry is the vice president, whoever the new boards are. And Mr. Kelly Jensen, yes?
Does the new website allow more than 100 residents to register the way David Israel's website?
David had a blog, but Joanne can answer that. Should be on.
The new website has no limit. There is no registration. It's open to anyone. UnitedCivic.org, anyone can. However, there is one thing that you have to be aware of. There's a comments page, and that is moderated. In other words, it is not an open forum like David's blog was. It's not a blog. It's not social media. It's a comments page, and it's moderated so that the answers are community-based answers. So anybody that has a question about anything, and it will benefit other people, we put it in. We will answer it and put it in. So if you look at the comments, there's probably 85 comments in there right now. They're all pretty general information comments. So I just want to be sure that people understand that. It is not social media, and it is not a blog. It is a comments and questions. Any question that you have, even the most basic questions, I'll find an answer to it. Because it's a community-based resource. It's not a blog. I just want to clear that up.
What if it's not a question? What if a person wants to get out information?
If it's information that is generally going to benefit, see, that's where the sort of the line is drawn. If it's an opinion, I'm not going to put it on. If it is information about, yeah, like you know of a new meeting of some sort, or a new get-together, or something that other members in the community could benefit from, certainly a new website that they should check for information about something valuable. That's the sort of comment I'm really looking for on there. Okay. Just to
Yes, ma'am.
I'm trying to figure out how to put this. There's a new law that was passed.
People can hear.
Very soft spoken.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I was sorry.
No, that's okay.
That's one.
There's a new law that's passed, I don't know if we could get clarification about help for condominiums, HBD something, it starts in July.
Donald will give you some update on that.
All right, so we're talking about the Safe Home Act, which originally applied just to single-family homeowners, but has now been expanded in a pilot program to condominiums. It's literally brand new, and as usual in Florida, there's no system yet for applying for what you need to do. What I do know about it is that once this thing gets up and running, you will need, for instance, you'll need to have a membership vote, whether to go forward with applying for the grant, and you'll need 100% buy-in from your membership. So that's a pretty hard, especially here in Century Village, that's a pretty hard bar to hit, right? Just, you know, if you have one person in the iron lung that doesn't answer emails or knocks on the door, you might have a problem. It can be tough. The other thing that I see that could be problematic is some buildings, half of us have already changed out our windows and doors, which is one of the things that covers. That's going to have to be reconciled somehow, and I don't know yet how. So as soon as we get more information, we'll just keep getting it out. And I expect that your property managers and attorneys are going to help you with this. Okay?
Yes, you have a question back there.
Hit it.
I'm John Harley from Andover, G. I just recently, in fact, I talked to one of your members on the board, okay? Jerry. Recently, Jerry, about, I bought another condo in Southampton, P. When I first bought comparable for the building that I was, so more compatible. I bought the second condo, then the board again turned me down, and they said to me that my girlfriend, when they looked at it,
This is not a UCO thing.
Yeah, John, this really doesn't belong in
but I
this
want to
meeting.
talk about the transparency.
No,
But that has nothing to do with UCO. That's a building issue. You need to discuss it with the association and that, or your attorney.
I'm sending a letter to your vice president, okay?
We have nothing to do with it. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
John, go ahead and send the letter. But that conversation, I know what it's about, and it really doesn't belong in this meeting. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Okay, all right. Next, I know that we've all had to put up with this, and if you're following, we're getting down to the end. Work done in the building should be done by a licensed and insured trade person, and you need building permits. Many need approval of the association. Okay, we have had in the past where a president says, oh yeah, go ahead, take down the walls. You know, it's okay. Can't do that. Anything that's structural, that belongs to the building, okay? You need approval of your membership. It has to be brought up to a vote. If a unit owner comes in and decides to rip out the inside of the apartment, first thing you call is the building department, Donald is the second one, and put a stop on it, okay? Your association needs to be involved. Also, if you have somebody that's renovating a bathroom, or putting in new windows, or a door, you need a building permit, you need approval of the board, okay? And a copy of the license, and a certificate of insurance of the person that's doing that work. 3/4 of the way down on that sheet of paper, there's a box that says additional insured. You must put the association as additional insured and the individual whose apartment is being worked on. That covers him and covers you. We just give you a perfect example. In Canterbury B, an apartment was being renovated on the second floor. Contractor came in, they put all the place back together, and the shower body was not correctly installed. Now you got a picture, the sheetrock is up, the tiles are up, they turn on the water from the water company, and guess what? Apartment on the second floor and apartment on the first floor get flooded out. Thank God that the association had license, insurance, and it was additional insured, and the contractor had to make good not only on the damage that was done to the apartment upstairs, but all the damage on the newly renovated apartment on the first floor. The contractor couldn't walk away from it, because the association said, we're gonna contact your insurance company. They did thousands of dollars worth of damage, okay? And some contractors will tell you, oh, I have to pay for that. They do not have to pay for that. If you're having windows or doors, just ask the contractor, say, listen, I need a certificate of insurance listing me, the association, and the unit owner, and they will give it to you. And it's free. They do not get charged for it. Very important. Now keep in mind all the things that we're talking about, because it's going to be towards the end of my presentation. Common elements. People say, what is a common element of the building? Well, I'm on the ground floor, and I want to put a 10 by 10 deck outside the back of my apartment. Can you do that? No. That's a common element of the building. We just had an association where previous president said, yeah, 3 people on the ground floor can all have their own patios. And then somebody said, well, I want a patio, but I'm on the 3rd floor. You know, can't have it. Guess what? Those 3 patios need to be shared. They either have to take them down, or they become a common element of the building, and every unit owner can share space. They have to. My best suggestion, do not let anybody put anything on a common element of the building unless every unit but you can stop it. You have to stop it.
Well, we have to make them remove them?
Yeah. Did you get permission?
They've been there before any of us.
Yeah.
Did they get a building permit? Okay, so if the building department comes in and gives you a fine for having something on a common area of your building, what would you do?
I don't know how I supposed to find out if there was a permit issue?
20 or 30 years
If it was
ago?
20 or 30 years ago that this was done?
Donald's got an answer for
Go
you.
ahead.
All right, let me ask you this. Have you, has anyone ever notified the insurance carrier about these additions to the building? They touch the building. What happens if somebody takes a header on it?
No, they're not touching the building. It's like concrete slab.
Concrete slab, and is the
With like-
concrete slab adjacent to the back door of the unit?
In some cases,
It made a
but
part
in
of the
some
unit.
cases, they
Either
rock in
way,
between.
your common area, your building is insured by an insurance carrier, mostly that we provide to you.
Didn't they come and inspect our buildings in order to rate our insurance?
You would hope so, but
Yeah, they did.
by having these things on common element without letting, just from an insurance point of view, you may find yourself SOL because somebody took a header on it, right? That's something to consider.
Because somebody fell, you mean?
Sure.
Oh, I totally appreciate that. That's why we're kind of strict about, there was one like
Good.
sinking and
Strict is good.
making them getting let
No,
down.
look, the thing you just said kind of resonates because I hear it a lot. Well, these things went in 30 years ago, like 20 years ago. So just because previous boards allowed this to happen, I have to let everyone else do it too. No, you don't. Your attorney can make for you what's called a new day letter. Basically, give it out to your whole membership and say, there's a new sheriff in town, and her name is Linda, and from this point forward, we're going to follow our bylaws. And as far as the ones before, well, that's a board decision, whether you want to.
I'm not sure what's in our bylaws about.
Well,
If there
that's
is
a-
anything about.
Yeah, it's a little.
Contact your attorney.
Yeah,
That's what
I mean, I
that's
can
what
look
you.
it up. No, I
It
could
says
easily
common
look it up.
yeah, look it up.
It just says common elements.
Hey, Donald,
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, hold on. Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm sorry. Soft spoken.
Thank you again. As far as the common element, I've had a disagreement with a tenant who says that common element is not outside of her back door, and so she has her patio there. Where does the common element start?
Right out.
She says that she
Is it an owner or a renter?
an owner, and she says she has paperwork that shows that she owns that part.
Go ahead, Donald. I don't think so, but go ahead.
All right, thought I was gonna take it easy today. All right, so in the situation, there's three pieces to your condominium. One is unit, the other is common element, which belongs to everyone, including the internal walls of the apartment. And then there's what's called limited common element. For most of us, the patios, believe it or not, enclosed or otherwise, are limited common element. They don't belong to the unit owner. Unit owner's not paying taxes on it, but the unit owner has the exclusive use of it. The minute that person, and I know who you're talking about, by the way, she's been in my office. The minute she steps from the patio outside, she is on common element. When she's in the patio, she is on limited common element.
Okay. Does that answer your question? Okay. And again, if you have a tenant, a unit owner that questions what the issue becomes, contact your attorney, let your attorney send a nice letter explaining what a common element of the building is. If you have a renter who is not abiding by the rules and regulations of the building, and you've asked that person nicely, whatever that could be, hopefully personal things are left out, but there are certain people that do things that are contrary or affect the quality of life of unit owners, then you contact the unit owner, not the individual, at least 4 months prior and say, this board has decided, make sure you have a meeting, say, listen, we're not going to renew your tenant's lease. It's up to you to notify that tenant. And don't wait till the very last month. You gotta give them at least 90 days. That's why I say 120 days, you notify the unit owner, and that's how you keep the quality of life of your building to make everybody happy. A lot of people are afraid to do that, okay? Don't be afraid to do that. Now, what have I been talking about? I've been telling you all these things that you gotta do. This is as of May 6th, 2024. State Statute 718-111-12 is being amended to state that associations, including accounting records, must include but are not limited to a copy of all invoices, transactions, deposit slips, if you make deposits, expenditures of funds by the association, and then a copy of all building permits. This is the new state statute, so everything that goes on in your building, your board needs to maintain these records. A copy of all satisfactory completed board members' education certificates. So everybody that's on your board, it is now the responsibility of the board to make sure that everybody has that certificate, and it must be in your possession. They're making that part of the paperwork that needs to be kept by the association. The new law states official records must be maintained in an organized manner that facilitates, you better listen to this because I know you guys are going to get upset. Official records must be maintained in an organized manner that facilitates inspection of those records by a unit owner. In the event that official records are lost, destroyed, or otherwise unavailable, the obligation to maintain the official records includes a good faith obligation to obtain and recover those records as reasonably as possible. Obligation to maintain and recover records is a major change to the law. Unit owners cannot simply be told a record is lost. They now turn around and get lost. Can't tell a person. You now have to try to make those records available to the individual. The unit owner should routinely follow up and ask whatever efforts are being made to obtain and recover those records. So the law now, if a unit owner comes to you and says, listen, I want to find out, my bylaws. Okay, I need a copy of the bylaws. And you say, well, I'm going to get them for you. Or they were burned in the fire, or the previous owner threw them in the garbage. That person is going to keep coming back to you. It's now your responsibility, according to new statute, that, as Jerry said, any unit over 25 units must maintain a website. They're requiring that all this information, certificates, bylaws, articles of incorporations, be listed on that website and be readily available to every unit owner. And if a person says, well, I don't have a computer, I can't look them up, guess whose responsibility it is to print it out and give it to them? Yours. Okay? Now, you're going to love this one. Okay? This is as of May 16th, yesterday. Official records of a condominium. This is what you're supposed to have in your records. A photocopy of recorded declaration of condominium and all amendments. A photocopy of the recorded bylaws of the condominium association and all amendment records. A certified copy of the articles of incorporation to the condominium association and all amendments. Current rules and regulations. Corporate minute book of all the condominium association corporate meetings. Current roster of all unit owners and their mailing addresses, and if they're known telephone numbers. All insurance policies maintained by the condominium association. All contracts to which the condominium association is a party of. Accounting records for the condominium association. Under Chapter 718 Florida statute is quite detailed with respect to the type of accounting records which must be maintained by the condominium association. That's why I recommend that you use a maintenance company like Seacrest that can readily make those available. You're going to love this one. Ballot, sign-in sheets, voting proxies, and all other paperwork related to the voting by the unit owners. Everything that you put in your building, you're supposed to have a vote. You're supposed to have all the backup paperwork of what your building has done. So I know that a lot of associations are not doing that now. Some of us are doing them to a degree, but this is now state law. You're going to have to do this. The good question is, somebody said, how are they going to enforce this? We don't know, but a situation arose where, with the, came up where an attorney asked, right? It was Mark Friedman. Explain what happened to, so, yeah.
All right, so, not giving out the records when requested. Typically, I think you have 5 business days to respond. That is a violation. It's given to DBPR, the Department of Business and Professional Regulation, Enforcement Department, and there can be fines. My own association president was cited for refusing to give up records. Guess who the complainant was? And then he did it again. So the second time around, now there's fines directly to the president. So we need to be careful with that. Right?
The thing I was thinking of it, that there was a building that questioned that there was a lawsuit brought because of age, and there was not maintained the proper.
Yeah. I'm gonna keep that without any.
Without mentioning
names, but yeah, we all need to keep a census every 2 years. You don't have to file it anymore, but once every 2 years you have to keep a census, who's living in your building, what's their names, a copy of their ID, and you put it in your records. There was a lawsuit in the association, and the first thing that the association's attorney said was, where's your census? Because obviously they're looking for situations of selective enforcement, and they didn't have it. Well, that put them at a legal disadvantage, and it cost them some money. They were covered by insurance, but yeah, the civil penalties are something to keep in mind too. So,
Okay. You have a question? Okay. All right.
I was going to bring that up about the census.
Yes.
I am in charge of 80 units, and there's a lot of people that refuse to do that. Do you just write down on the record that they refuse?
Just do the best you can. You have to make your best effort.
This has worked in my previous life. I was told that if an individual refused to sign, give them the form and say, owner refuses to sign, and have them sign it. And 9 times out of 10, they'll sign that form that they refuse to sign it. But at least you will have done your due diligence. And that individual that signed lost his car dealership because he refused to sign it, but legally it held up in court.
And look, ideally, everyone who moved into your building was investigated, and you have that in your records. So you already have their driver's license. It doesn't have to be valid, current.
All right. Here's important, then we'll go right after this, we'll open up to other questions. Official records of the condominium association must be maintained for at least 7 years. The official records of the condominium must be made available to any unit owner within 45 miles of the condominium property, within the county in which the condominium is located. The official records must be made available within 5 working days after the association's receipt of a written request from a unit owner. Okay?
But the minutes, I think, have to be kept forever, didn't they?
Yes. So, like I said, the wider it is, it's narrowing down. I know that for those of you that go to the HOA or the condo expos, go. I try to go twice a year, and I learn something every year. There are rules and regulations that are being done because people have been very lax. And issues have arisen, so now the legislature is coming to try to straighten out all the lax activities that they've had over the years. Okay. Pretty much, I've given you what I think, as much information that I can give you, and I will open it up to questions. If we haven't already answered your question, we'll try.
Okay, this is from a security meeting. I love that Platinum does, what is it, the checks of the building, welfare checks. Because I'm alone here. Okay. However, at that meeting, when we were saying how happy we were that there were welfare checks, Donald said not anymore. There's been an incident, they're done. No more. That was distressing.
Yeah, I don't doubt it was distressing. Welfare checks have not been stopped here at Century Village yet. I brought it up at a meeting because in a very similar community in Broward County, there was an incident, and yes, that community has ended welfare checks. But the police will always do a welfare check for you, right? You call 911 and say, go check on somebody, and they will. We see them do it all the time.
Yes, ma'am.
Right.
This lady is saying the Sunshine Club dial 211 and they'll
Yes.
call you every morning to see that you're okay.
Yeah, that's sunshine.
Sunshine. The Sunshine Club.
Yes.
Grace, that's a good suggestion. I'm gonna put that in my report this week. Just put it out there. I forget about it, but 211, you sign up. They'll call you every morning, see if you're okay, alive, and it works. Hi, coming right back.
I have someone all the way in the back.
Grace?
Yeah.
Grace?
Yeah.
Hi everyone, my name is Will Wickout. Me and my brother, we've come to a few of these meetings. He's running for Congress in District 21. I just
No,
want
I'm sorry. No politics
Okay,
here.
oh, sorry.
No politics.
Well, don't talk if you need anything.
No politics.
Grace? The people who sign up for 911, for 211, like I'm on the list for a lot of older people in the building. So if they don't answer, they call me, and then I go down and check on the person. So they're covered two ways. If they can't get them, I will check to make sure they're okay.
Yes, yeah, up here.
Here I come.
Don't run, Donald.
That's
Yeah.
okay, I could use it.
I had a problem in the units, one of the units.
Use your mic.
Took down walls and all.
Take down, speak into the microphone.
Okay, took down walls and all. Now I saw a code enforcement card on his door.
Okay.
And no one's in there. So I took the card out and called this guy, his name's Charles something, and wanted to get back, is what is he doing? Now, our attorney sent the cease and desist order, but now I don't know what's going on with the code.
Okay, and your building is?
Bedford F?
Okay, I'm aware of the Bedford F situation. Here's the problem. If it's a code enforcement officer, he can't go in that unit without the unit owner's permission, even if you have the keys. Matter of fact, he can't even look in the windows. I sent him pictures that you guys sent me, and he can't even use that as proof of what's going on. But if there's a possible structural problem, then you have the building inspector come, the structural building inspector. He has more juice to go into a unit because it's a safety thing at that point. So if in your case, there really wasn't anything, there weren't any walls removed, it just really the drywall was removed, that's all code enforcement stuff. But if they had removed an actual wall, even though I know better, I can call that in, because I was the complainant for you, I did that. I could say, I have reason to believe that the roof might cave in. You know, sometimes I'm juicing that up a little bit, it's not really true, but I just want to get them in there. But that wasn't anything close in your case. There's a difference. Code enforcement, you really need a unit. That's what makes their job tough. Sometimes there's just nothing they can do.
So our attorney sent a cease and desist letter.
Good.
And now what's the board's next step at all?
Well, has the unit owner ceased and desisted?
As far as we know, they usually sneak contractors in when evening or.
All right, call a board meeting. You can cut off that unit, or you, the board, not you, can decide to cut off that unit owner's right to bring in guests or tradesmen. And then you send a letter to Yuko with the seal on it and say, please cut off their, and we'll do it. But you're taking on the liability of that, so be careful what you wish for, right? We'll do whatever you say, all right?
John, I don't need the mic.
No, you don't.
Going back to the common elements, in my bylaws, it reads that we're a non-smoking building. However, they have said that you can smoke inside of the apartment.
Who's they?
The previous board said that they could in the bylaws and so forth, when I read the bylaws, all right? So, I mean, there's many things in the bylaws that they've gone back, they grandfathered things in that are ridiculous. But anyway, what I want to talk about is we have people that are smoking in the common, in the limited common element, which is a part of their apartment, but not really. Can I restrict that?
Are you on the board?
Yes.
Get with your board. Your board is the governors of your building. Your board can change rules and regulations. Now, I don't know if this was in your bylaws or in your rules and regs. Rules and regs can be changed, they can be accepted to.
What I'm saying to you, in the bylaws, it reads that they can smoke inside their apartment.
All right.
However, it says they can't smoke in the common elements, but you say in a limited common element is a part of their apartment too.
This is a gray area, John. Your board really needs to check with an attorney on that one. That's a tricky one.
Legal questions should be limited to the issue. It's just like when somebody says, well, you can't smoke, and the person, I know that there's a statute that says you gotta smoke 40 feet from your building. Okay, you're smoking in the parking lot, okay? Be careful of what you ask for. But these are all questions that need to be addressed to your attorney to make sure, like you said, the bylaw might have been changed, no smoking in the building. But your bylaws and declaration are in conflict. If it hasn't been changed, you can't really do anything about it. But the best suggestion is what Donald says, have a board meeting, have everybody on the board agree what to ask your attorney, where can somebody smoke in my building? And get an answer, and that will help you to guide you through what your issue is.
Can I ask you one more? Recently, I've learned about the rules of the condominium. You know, certain boards and certain buildings have rules, okay?
Right.
Can you enforce the rules of the condominium?
Yes.
Yes.
Look, you have your bylaws, you have the declaration, right? And then you have your rules and regulations. These are, the board can make reasonable rules and regulations of a mundane nature. You can't hang your laundry out. You can only smoke in certain places. House rules. You know, like your parents would have done when you're living in their house. Those rules can be changed from time to time, but you gotta let everybody know what the rules are. That's kind of important. Posting them is the easiest way to do that, right? But yes, they are enforceable, and they don't have to be recorded anywhere, or, you know.
But what I recommend, when you have rules that you want to enforce, write them all out, and that's what I used to do in my old building. At the annual meeting, I would pass them out and say, does everybody agree? We have 5 or 6 rules. Does everybody agree with rule number 1, number 2? It was on record that at this annual meeting, the people that were there voted and agreed that these were the bylaws, rules and regulations they were going to follow. This way you have continuity, it's in your records that your unit owners agreed to it. Not just the board, because that's what happens. A new board comes in and says, we're not going to do this anymore, and they don't talk to anybody. Yes, Patricia.
We had the rules and regulations made up, and as new owners came in, I had them read it and signed it right then and there and date it. I think it's the most effective way.
Yeah, I have a welcome package that I give to my new owners. They read through it, and at the end of it, they sign it, that they've acknowledged that they've read through all the rules and regulations pertaining to my condo association. But I want to add one more thing, based on something that Donald just said. We had this phone call yesterday. A gentleman said this lady left a towel on the chair. I'm fining her $100 a day till that takes taken off. You cannot fine an individual for breaking a rule unless you follow a procedure. The procedure is you have to have a committee of 3. You have to. I'm sorry, Donald. If you want to, you can.
No, hit it.
I know you know this rule. Go.
You have to have a committee of 3. You have, and they can't be board members. You have to write a letter, I think, to the person, informing them that if this is not rectified within 10 days, am I correct?
Yeah.
You will be fined whatever amount is decided. But a president just can't go and say, okay, $100 a day because you didn't. You need to have a fine committee. So that's something that, if you're gonna fine somebody, there's a procedure that's gonna have to be followed, because if you don't, if you take it to a lawyer, or they take it to a lawyer or to a judge, the judge is just gonna throw it out. You didn't follow the procedure.
And it needs to be there needs to be an appeals procedure as well. The person gets to be able to appeal it.
It makes it almost impossible.
Excuse me, according to Mark Freeman, when I said we wanted to put a fine, he says, it doesn't really pay, and even though you have a committee, they really can't. It has to go through the attorney.
Yeah.
So it's not so simple. Be very careful what you do. Make sure that it's all legal, because you don't want it to backfire on you.
I just wanted to add one thing that Fausto had mentioned before about paperwork. For those of you who have 3 or 4 story buildings, I don't know how many of you do have it here, but you know that there has to be 2 inspections. Well, integrity inspection for the building itself. I think, the name escapes me offhand. Then you have to have something.
Phase 1 and
Reserve study and milestone, okay. Milestone report has to be done by December 31, 2024. Every owner in the building has to get a copy of that report. Okay, just so that everybody's clear. That's paperwork. You must give a copy of the milestone report to every owner in the building. And by beginning of 2026, you have to have the reserve study as well. It means adding on new line items. Again, this only applies to 3 and 4 story buildings. But it's something for you to investigate and to work on now. The most important thing, which I think we're all trying to get here, is education and transparency. A lot of people come to me, they say, well, my associates, don't worry about it, we'll take care of it. Oh, you don't need to know about it, because if you're not transparent, you're opening up yourself to a lot of legal issues. I just had a gentleman came to me the other day, and I told him, get a declaration of condominium for your building, because I was basically telling him what the pastor was saying. He comes back to me, the declaration of condominium is dated 1999, but never was updated. So he says, is this what I have to follow? And I asked him, was it ever updated? No. So he showed that association is following the rules and regulations of 1999. I urge you all, get an attorney, and update your condominium, your declaration of condominium, et cetera, to the year 2024. Because what happened in 1999, a lot of it is not applicable to now.
Is there anybody here from a 3-story building or above? Okay. Just so that you're aware, part of the new regulations is that once you do phase 1, everybody that purchases in your building must be given a copy of that phase 1 report 3 days prior to the closing date. And according to the latest regulation in 2024, if that person has 3 days to rescind the purchase of that, if you're giving that the structural integrity report and they're not happy with it, they can walk away from that sale. This was just added to that.
Hey Fausto, can I touch on something?
Sure.
Because I think we're losing audience. And
That's all right.
I'm gonna sit in Joanne's chair, because what I'm about to talk about is a little sticky and it has to do with her job. And it's money. The last couple of weeks, Joanne and I and our bookkeeper, Chris, have been really working hard on collecting assessments from the associations. Just as your unit owners pay your association for their share of the services, the associations pay UCO for the services that we provide, the buses, the security, all these things. These assessments are due on the 1st of each quarter. We consider them to be late on the 15th. By the 30th, you get your first stunning letter. At the moment, we have 4 associations that are on their second dunning letter. On June 1st, we will curtail services to those associations, starting with their barcodes. It's not fair that some associations wait to 90 days to catch up and repeatedly, and some pay always on time. So I'm just putting it out there. You want to check with your management companies and make sure that your obligations are being met in a timely way. Because I hate making those phone calls, and I certainly hate sending the letters. All right? Does anybody have any questions about that? Yeah? Okay, sure.
Yes, sir, go ahead.
Listen, I want to thank you guys for having this meeting. This was so informative. I myself, I really appreciate it. And more people should attend these meetings because what's going to happen is, a lot of these associations don't know what's going on. And they're going to want to turn it over to the property manager to start running everything and keep their dots I's and their T's crossed. So I really appreciate you guys having this meeting, and thank you guys.
Thank you. Well, just so that you know, we're doing Coffee with Me, the president, the second Friday of the month, and the third Friday of the month from now until December. This room is booked. I will be having this meeting. You're welcome to come back if you have questions. Tomorrow, Monday morning, come to the office. We'll try to answer them for you. But I appreciate the fact, and I'm all for education and sharing the information, and that's the biggest problem that we have.
Yes,
John, you had your hand up.
So, when I read the report about the milestone and the legal laws and so forth, and what it says, you're correct, that it has to be given to every unit owner. It also has to be posted on the bulletin board and then put on their website if they have a website.
Right.
According to DeSantis, he wrote it into law
Right.
June 9th of 2023.
Well, I have the legal updates right here.
Okay.
You know, I'm not the smartest guy in the room, but I know how to
I'm
read
just saying it has to
that.
be put on the bulletin board. A lot of people.
Well, I understand, and this is why we're here. We're here to educate as many people as want to be educated. We try to one-on-one. I've had some associations that tell me that people work, and I will make myself available for a small group on a Saturday if they want to. But right now, it's here. The second Friday of the month is at the UCO office upon invitation, and Carolyn is calling in alphabetical order, and the third Friday of the month will be here. Next month, I may have someone other than the vice presidents. I invited all the vice presidents and Ruth to be here, and recording secretary and our treasurer, if you had questions for them. I mean, the main focus is I'm trying to give you as much information as I can, and I will be updating. I update this every day. Like I said, today's the 17th, and I have paperwork that I downloaded yesterday.
I've learned a lot of things today that I didn't know.
Well, good. Thank you, and I appreciate that. Yes, ma'am. I apologize for making you wait.
No problem. Circling back to the milestone report and the reserve study, I don't know if they go up in price every year, but right now you should know and prepare that each report is $4,000. And we've just completed both of ours, so we're good.
Okay, so there are different prices for different engineering firms, charge different prices. How big your building is probably has something to do with it, so there's no flat charge. But yeah, and I expect that price to go up as the demand goes up, right?
I got one more question. What if the unit owner never tells the renter up until the day the lease expires, never gave a 60-day notice, 30-day notice, what happens in a situation like that?
Be more specific.
Okay.
Please.
So in other words, the renter leases up in June.
Right.
The renter knows it, but does the landlord are they supposed to send the renter a letter stating
Of
that?
course.
Yeah, they
Okay,
It's up to the unit owner.
Well, that's my question. My question is, what if the letter never got sent out? And
Did you follow through?
All right, so this happened to me this week in my own building, all right?
Go ahead.
A tenant knocked on my door, my wife answered the door, and she said, my card's turned off. I get, okay, well, we need a copy of your lease.
Right.
As a rule in my building, I don't, or my wife or my board we don't deal with tenants.
I understand.
We deal with the owners. So I tell her to call your landlord, have your landlord send me a copy of the lease, bring it to me, and we'll take care of it from there. She was up in arms because they waited till the last minute.
Right.
And kind of not my problem, right? So I just can't, I have to ask my board whether it's okay for me to renew. And I did, and she had to wait. And just because she was,
Like, does the real estate, I mean, they have to get involved somehow or some way.
you have no business with a real estate agent.
None.
Okay.
Okay. It's up to the board really to follow through. That's why I say, I believe Florida statute says that you have 90 days to notify a tenant that you're not going to be renewing the lease. But you as a board can't do that. It's up to the unit owner. Now, I would follow through on the 90th day, I would follow through with a second letter, either from the association, management company, or from an attorney. What have you done about notifying your tenant? Because 9 times out of 10, the tenant will come. What do you mean I can't live here anymore? But sometimes the unit owner is an LLC or is out of the country, but you need to follow through because 30 days prior, you're gonna need a lease, and if you don't have a lease, then you go to the unit owner and to the tenant and say, you know, we're not renewing your lease, you know? So don't.
And look, nobody's paying you and nobody's paying me to manage a landlord's tenants.
Correct.
And I don't want to take on that liability either. So as a rule, you talk to your landlord will come and will talk to me.
Okay, thank you.
Yes,
Hey,
sir.
Mr. Chaplin.
I have one
I got him
question.
coming.
Sure.
We have a tenant who has a single residence, single occupant, one person
Right,
rental
right,
lease that expires in December.
okay,
Now he calls me and tells me he wants to put his wife on
okay,
this rental lease. She has a different name, they were married here,
okay,
that whole sort of thing, so we can't
That's
get
good.
into Mr. and Mrs. and all.
okay,
But anyway, so I know that she has to file an application as a person to live there, reside there, and that he's gonna have to pay $150.
Right.
Even though he claims they're married.
First things first, Mr. Chaplin.
And,
First things first.
yeah,
You tell that tenant to bring that whole mess to their landlord,
right,
and let their landlord come to you,
yeah,
right? As far as tenants having people move in with them,
yeah,
right? An owner can have an occupant, right? My wife throws me out, she can take up with someone else and bring her in as an occupant, down, put them on a deed. But a tenant can't have an occupant, they have to be on the lease.
right,
But that's the landlord's problem to
That's
fix.
what to expect, because sometimes the landlords tell me, well, I don't know what I'm supposed to do, it should be okay. So I have to have some reasonable understanding.
And just say, if it's a tenant, everybody who lives in that apartment you make a new lease, or addendum to the existing lease.
Because that's what he says, is I want an amendment to the existing lease. I said, first of all.
Then let him do it.
Tell me.
okay.
I said, okay, well, so.
All right. It's very simple. If the person, whoever the tenant is, you say, you need to go talk to your landlord. Your landlord has to give you a new lease, and that person needs to be investigated, and you're done.
Okay.
Okay?
And that's what I would rather have, and the board would rather have, is a new lease.
Of course. Or an amended lease, whatever it is. But that's not your responsibility. That's the tenant and the landlord.
Oh, okay.
That's where it comes
It can be
into,
done either way, as long as whatever they're doing is.
whatever they're doing.
I'd say yes.
Yes, all right. Yes.
No, I just.
Oh, I thought you had your hand up. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions? We're getting short. Okay. You have any questions for either Kelly or Ruth or Patricia that we haven't already answered? Yes, I love you.
I just want to say thank you to you all because
Thank you. Donald, you want to show up the camera, please?
Yeah, sure.
I can tell you that you can save yourself a call if you don't know who your vice president is. It's in the newspaper. I believe page 4 carries
The
all
other side.
columns, and it'll tell you right under the picture who your vice president is.
Push the button and lever up.
However,